Yeah, good morning. I'll take a medium with 2 sugar and a medium regular, please. Good morning, DDT.
Duffy, how are you?
Hanging in there, dude. Week 16? Week
Yeah.
17, episode 16.
Episode 16, week 7. No.
Yeah?
Is it? Week 17?
Well, we have one extra episode.
Yeah.
Because at some point you made me label an episode like 2A or 3B or something like that.
Yeah, 2.5.
2.5, yeah.
Yeah.
So I think we actually have 17 episodes, even though it's
16.
we're calling this one 16. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah,
It's like saying the 18th century. You know how that confuses. You know how that always confuses the hell out of people.
That's true. So the
20.
What is it? The 18th century is the 1700s.
Well, what was the first century? That's what I usually tell people.
0.
Well, yeah, it was numbers below 100, right? So,
Right.
Oh, you were from the first century? Yeah, you lived in year 50 to 70? Yeah, that's the first century.
Yeah.
Get it? Get it? So it's a bit below.
Yeah.
Those numbers are below. Yeah. So the 19th century would be?
The 1800s.
Very good. And you say you don't know math.
Is that a math question? I'm not sure.
Pretty much.
Is it?
Math and logic. Yeah.
Okay.
Good stuff. You passed.
Good. So the
So what's
20th,
on the-
so we're in the 21st century, which is the 2000s.
We are in the 20. Oh, we just messed everything up. You're right. We're in the 21st century.
Yeah, that's what I said.
Yeah. So the example we just gave before was opposite.
No.
I'm pretty sure.
No,
Was
no,
it not?
no. In the 19th century, the 19th century was the 1800s. The 20th century was the 1900s, and the 21st century,
21st century is the 2000s.
the 2000s, or the 2000s.
Yeah, there you go. Okay, I get you. Oh man, remember I told you can't have a logic discussion with people that aren't logical, and then it just messes everything up.
That's right.
So what's on the agenda for today, Mr. Producer DDT?
Yeah, well, I guess the big apology goes out to our listener,
Oh, just in general?
just in general, just a general apology. That's the way
For
we
what?
like to start the show every week. No.
Usually it's pretty specific. Usually you have something you're like really apologizing for.
Oh, that's
If
true.
not, I'll come up with something real quick.
Okay, go ahead.
I'd like to apologize to the people of British Columbia
For
because I'm pretty sure their provincial caucus ordered the same damn meal the Ontario PCs had 2 weeks ago. Did you hear that in the news?
no.
Oh, are you kidding, Mister? I know everything about COVID. No.
I try not to go on.
Good
news.
call.
Yeah.
Good call. No, stay away. So BC has enacted a bunch of craziness, just like Doug Ford tried a few weeks back. They're putting up roadblocks interprovincially. They don't want people traveling anywhere at all. Just a real bunch of confusing, strangely worded ultimatums that people are going to lose their minds over. I'm real curious if their police forces are going to, kind of take the same reaction to it that ours did here in Ontario. So anyways, I think those poor people in BC, they might be feeling like we did 3 weeks ago. So I apologize for that, even though I had nothing to do with it.
maybe Doug Ford did. I don't know. I did hear a little bit about that, but so far I have not heard any of their so-called police forces or a lot of the, I guess, areas patrolled by RCMP. So I have not heard any of the RCMP come out against, doing stops or what have you. Yeah, like they haven't walked back their restrictions after a day. So
Yeah.
I think the people in BC, I'm going to apologize saying that they seem to be a lot more compliant.
That is a really interesting thing to say because on the surface, you think of, Western Canada, you think about the open skies, the ranches, the outdoor living and all that stuff, and the natural connotations to freedom. But I think you might be onto something. But then there is this real, I don't know, there's a real disconnect between what I see with that lifestyle and then all this, yeah, like open-hearted compliance for everything. Because you're right, I haven't heard any kickback at all, really.
No.
Whereas Ontario, like, come on, we're as center as it gets, eh?
Yeah.
Politically and geographically. And I guess it was our police forces, again, hats off to those guys. Like, they stood up. Cop car coffee salutes you. Like, they said, we're having nothing of it.
Yeah.
And in a second, the collective blood pressure of freedom-loving Ontarians just plummeted. Like, it was crazy. So you're right. Out there, though, I don't know if we're going to get that, eh?
Yeah, I always see BC as being more of a compliant.
Really?
Yeah. Well, not that there's anything wrong with this, obviously, but they're more on the left side of things, right? Out there, and it's odd because being right next to Alberta, which you would think is the bastion of freedom and liberty.
Yeah.
And then right next to them on the left of them is literally on the left of them is BC. So
I've spent enough time in those places, and I think what it is, it's a real good example of that urban-rural divide. I think all the votes are in Vancouver. Like, Metro Vancouver is probably 80% of the population of the province, and I think you're right. Very liberal, very institutional. Everybody works for the government or a port, and that's that. But the whole rest of the province might be a little more hesitant to lay down for some of this craziness, eh?
Yeah, well, I have not heard anything about whether they have, the rest of the province has or has not. But anecdotally, I have read a couple of things where people have traveled. There's a lot of beautiful places in British Columbia that you could vacation at, and people have traveled by car up to some of these places, and they say where it was on these highways that you had all these lovely little restaurants and shops, mom and pop owned and stuff like that. Well, they no longer exist, and it's just the old
brutal
fast food chains, and stuff like that is taken over. Where the mom and pops left off. And I think if you're traveling to like those type of places, like a remote or beautiful in the country type place, that's part of the charm of going there, is stopping at these little mom and pop places, and grabbing rather than a McDonald's. Can we say McDonald's or Tim's?
No, you know what? I'll quickly say McDonald's. What a hell of a good coffee again this morning. Why aren't these people sponsoring us?
Oh, Duff, I don't even have a coffee yet. You got me up too early to do this thing.
Oh, man. And while we're on the fact, JB is not pulling his weight at all. Remember how gung-ho he was about 2 weeks ago?
BJ, good old BJ.
In terms of sponsorship, and he had feelers out there everywhere, and he was saying how close he was to all these different things. I think the lockdown threw us for a loop.
Yeah. Because
we did have some neat sort of... we had some balls in motion for a few things, but everything just gets slaughtered, eh?
Yeah.
Anyways, I think, we got to get this back on track here, buddy.
Well, yeah, I don't know if those are anecdotal stories of BC driving through. So, I mean, you take them for what they are, but getting it back, let's start again with the apology then for going off track.
Now there's a good apology.
Exactly, there I brought it back. But how about we follow up from last week, because we had our friend Mr. Hollywood on.
100%
to do the Oscar picks.
How did I do?
Terrible.
Did I what?
Terrible.
I don't think I did terrible. Well, I would say, first of all,
you didn't do well.
David versus Goliath here.
Yeah.
Now there's a sneak peek spoiler into this week's Duff's pick.
Duff's pick.
Yeah. I mean, I know what I got. I got 2 out of 5 for an amateur. Okay, against a professional who it's his whole job to be a movie expert.
Yeah.
And I'll just say I nailed actress. What's it called? Actress category?
Actress in a leading role.
Actress in a leading role.
So let's start off with that then, since you brought it up. So the winner, as you say, you nailed it, was Frances McDormand of Nomadland. Yes, so you did nail that. And
she
Mr.
plays that role.
Yeah.
I was just going to say she plays that same role in countless movies. And the only reason I thought she may not win is just in case those liberal Hollywooders got tired of that role. But I don't think they can, because that's their role. Like, that is so Hollywood. That is so what they're all about. And she plays that role perfectly, eh?
Yeah,
what did Hollywood tell us she was in? She was like in Fargo.
Yeah.
And
two billboards out of Ebbing,
two billboards.
Whatever. Yeah.
So if you've seen any of these three films, you've seen them all from her standpoint, because she plays that role perfectly.
I can't say that I haven't seen any of these films, so I can't comment on that. But I have seen the two billboards, and I have seen Fargo, obviously.
Well, this is my point. Yeah. So you pictured her in those, same in this one. So
Mr. Hollywood's pick then for that one was Viola Davis, Ma Rainey's Black Bottom. Did not win.
Not win.
Yeah. So
let's just leave it at that and move on. We got other things to talk about. I beat him in that category. And,
you beat him in that category. So actor in a leading role. And you
I mean no more movie talk. No more movie talk at all.
Well, we have to. Our listeners are in suspense as to what the picks were.
Yeah, but I'd rather just leave on a high note. And who cares that he beat me in the other ones? I'll get it. Sum it up. So I'll kick my ass in every other category.
Exactly. So I'll sum it up. But here's the thing: actor in a leading role. You were like all over Anthony Hopkins.
Yeah, I should have just picked him, eh?
Yeah, because he won. Yeah. You were like Anthony Hopkins, blah blah blah, this, that, and the other thing, and then you ended up picking Riz Ahmed in Sound of Metal, and you should have gotten what your gut.
Well, that was a pretty cool. That was a really cool movie and a very distinct role. And I thought, again, it's hard for me. I'm trying to put my mind in a Hollywood Actor Guild voter's mind.
Yeah.
And I thought that would have been just their cup of tea. So I went with them. But my personal favorite and best actor is Anthony Hopkins, hands down. And I was shocked that they went with him, and I just should have went with my gut, I guess.
Yeah, you should have. And he won for the movie The Father. Yeah. Mr. Hollywood's pick was Chad Boseman, Ma Rainey's Black Bottom.
Yeah, great actor, too. I think everyone thought it would be him. So I think everyone was shocked that he didn't win.
Yeah. Well, moving on then, directing. This one you were totally out to lunch because you had originally picked. No, sorry, that was Best Picture that you had originally picked two movies that weren't even on the list. But as far as directing is concerned, it went to.
Whoa! Yeah. I included two movies that I thought should have been on the list.
Okay, that makes it better.
Let's be clear.
Yeah. So Chloe Zhao ended up winning for directing, Best Director for Nomadland, which Mr. Hollywood did call. He called that one, and you went with Lee Isaac Chung of Minari. Yeah, he's well down on the list here.
Yeah, that's disappointing because I thought, what a cool concept. That movie, The American Dream and all that, immigrant family, dealing with life in a new country, like, loved it. I don't know. To me, I went with my gut on that one, and clearly I'm not a Hollywood movie picker.
Clearly not.
Yeah.
So moving on then to Best Picture. This is where you put those two movies in that you thought should have been in there but weren't. Kind of like our segment. So Nomadland Nomadland actually won.
Good movie.
And
movie.
You would pick The Trial of the Chicago 7. And for the life of me, I didn't write it down. I should have, because I can't remember what Mr. Hollywood picked, but I think it was Nomadland. I think he also picked Nomadland.
I'll give it to him. I think he went with Nomadland. He went with Nomadland for like over half his picks, whether it was for actor, actress, director. picture, whatever. He had that.
Well, he
for
had
a
two,
while.
right? He had Nomadland and Ma Rainey's Black Bottom were his two
Yeah.
big movies.
Two big ones. Yeah.
So, and then where that does come in was our bonus category.
Ah, yes.
Yes, which was makeup and hairstyling. And the winner was, in fact, Ma Rainey's Black Bottom. So you and Mr. Hollywood both picked that movie to win, and it did. So look at that. You two guys knowing your makeup and hairstyling.
But I will not quit my day job, that's for sure.
Probably not a good idea, no.
I will simply stick to professional podcasting and leave movies for someone else, like Mr. Hollywood.
Yeah. So yeah, we want to thank him again for coming on to do that. It was a lot of fun, and hopefully the listener liked it, because it was less of us and more of him.
Oh, it was great. And I'd also like to thank Mr. Hollywood for communicating a bit with us in the virtual world. He is liking our tweets, and he's forwarding a few things. So yeah, I thought that was cool.
Well, I think you guys were trolling each other on Twitter.
A little bit. I was kind of getting them going, boosting things up. It was good though, and it has definitely brought a few extra followers to the account, Cop Car Coffee at Cop Car Coffee, and it's been fun.
Well, we'll have to buy him a coffee then.
We'll have to get JB to get a sponsor to buy us all coffee.
Exactly.
So what else has been keeping us busy this week?
Well, as you mentioned on the show last week, about an idea to like a segment to pick places around the world that might be off the beaten path, that are not well known. And you brought up the Faroe Islands. Which I thought originally was like near Bali, but turns out it's kind of like North Atlantic, maybe not even North Atlantic. Where is it? It's kind of between Scotland.
North Atlantic.
Yeah.
No, definitely North Atlantic. Far North Atlantic.
Far North Atlantic. So what I did during the week was I indeed tried to contact them to see if we could get they have a prime minister. So see if we can get an interview with their prime minister.
Why start with why not start with the top? Yeah, I love it.
Exactly. But we didn't hear back.
But the good listeners should know the effort that we put in for this was impressive, right?
The email that I wrote to the
so the listener doesn't know this. You're a very good writer, and I don't give compliments out very often at all. You're a good writer, and this thing was like impressive. It talked a little bit about us, Ottawa, Canada, where we're podcasting out to the world. A little bit about your credentials in media and things like that. And it was like, oh my God, I'm ready to say yes to this guy. Like we need whoever reads this to make sure it gets to the prime minister. And he's going to be like, let's be honest, this will be the most exciting thing that came across his desk in the Faroe Islands since 1972. Like, well, what the hell? Like, is he busy? Does he have to go settle a sheep dispute or something? Like, come on.
That's a good question.
Or maybe is the sun actually shining for the first time in 7 weeks? Like, and he's out of the building? Come on.
It's possible. I don't know. I just thought maybe I bragged on some of the interviews that I've done over the years, and the one that I didn't include in there, which maybe I might have put us over the top, was with the former Governor General David Johnson, and kicking myself for not including that one in there.
Well, correct me if I'm wrong, but did you not interview JT at some point as well?
Yes, that was in there for sure. Yeah, Justin Trudeau, that was in there.
Oh, see, I maybe didn't read it as closely as I've let on.
I dropped names. I dropped some big names here in Canadian politics.
No, what you should have did maybe? Like, maybe you should have let autocorrect change Justin Trudeau to Justin Bieber.
Oh.
And then maybe he's a believer. What do you call those people? And then maybe he'd be like all over it.
Yeah.
Or she. Is it a man?
No, it's a man.
I am.
Yeah.
Sexist stuffy here. It is a man. Okay.
It is. Yeah.
So while you were doing that, I was doing my version of trying to connect with people, and I was just searching for people on Twitter from the Faroe Islands. And the good news is they're ahead of Lanark. That's for sure. They have internet up there. And they had a few people that I connected with and I asked, but I've heard the same things that you've heard. Nothing.
Nothing.
But oh my God, all I can think of is there has to be a way to just, and we've talked a lot about this, and we don't want to bore the good listener. But on Google, just making almost a darn cold call, right? An internet call. Back in the day in high school, that's what we did for fun, right? You'd call people and you'd prank call them.
Yeah.
But I don't want to like pay the money to call the Faroe Islands, for heaven's sakes. But there's Google Calls, right?
Well,
I just don't know how it integrates into your technology here for the podcast.
Yeah, so I think Skype would probably be the best option, and it allows you to make calls. So you can look up the phone number, which there is obviously for him. So
for sure.
And then we can
we're pushing dozens and dozens of listeners now.
Yeah.
So if someone out there has a clue how to do this, drop us a line. You know how to reach us.
Do they?
Well, of course they do. I hope they do. Wherever they're accessing the podcast, there's always a way through that platform to send us a note.
Oh, okay.
Whether it's iHeartRadio, Spotify, Podbean, Google Podcasts, or any other way. It's really crazy, DDT. I didn't tell you this, but I went onto one of the platforms just to check out data, and you're going to laugh. There's all sorts of other podcast platforms, right, that we've never heard of that are bigger in other places.
Yeah.
And in like Eastern Europe or somewhere, there's a bunch of weirdos that must be listening to us. Maybe they're just practicing their English or something, right? But there's like 30 or 40 people out of Hungary or Bulgaria or something, literally downloading episodes weekly for Cop Car Coffee.
Really?
I'm not kidding.
That's funny.
Because it's like Pajarski or Pujojar, like some weird podcast label. And yeah, we're getting kind of filtered out that way.
It's on Podbeansky
or something. Yeah, it's super cool. Yeah. No, we're getting it's just exciting for us. I think the listeners could care less, but we're like approaching 1,000 unique downloads now, since day one. Not weekly or anything, but when you think about it, that's a combination of people listening for the first time and then going outside and hopefully not shooting themselves and people that are actually listening maybe 2 or 3 times. So it's kind of neat.
Well, that's good. That's good. Good to know. Good to know that people in the former Eastern Bloc are listening to us.
But to sum up the whole Call a Faraway Place, I'm on this and it sucks because I don't like quitting on something like this. Don't quit on me, eh?
No, exactly.
We will find.
I can't quit you.
We will find. Can't quit you. That's it. We will find a random person from a faraway place to have a conversation.
Well, I'm
going
to keep trying. I'm going to keep trying the Faroe.
Yeah, me too.
It's my mission now because not having heard back. But it's true.
But
maybe they're still in hibernation because the sun hasn't come out yet.
That's
so
true
that could
too.
be possible.
That's true too.
Yeah.
But your homework in the meantime is fix the tech. Make sure it's ready to roll. So if we get a number and a time, they are only 5 hours ahead of us, right? So we're mid-morning Ottawa time. It's probably like 3-4 o'clock over there. So the timing's perfect for the podcast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we'll see what happens. Well, that's I'll keep plugging away at that and see what happens. But that kind of brings me to also like we had talked about me talking about my travel experience to Turkey, but we never actually. These are things that we should do, but never get around to doing actually. So we never really talked about it.
We're twisting it into things that we are now going to do that we said we would. And I've been waiting probably 3 or 4 weeks now to hear a little bit about this trip to Turkey. I love travel, as do you. I think we had almost a regular theme the first few weeks of the podcast where we talked about places and cool stuff. So I love getting back to that. I'll try not to interrupt because we don't want this to turn into your version of an AMC story. So I'd like you to tell the good listener, because I have heard a little bit about this before, and it's a pretty neat trip. So sum up your trip to Turkey for the good listener, DDT.
Well, the trip to Turkey was on one place out of a much larger tour of Europe, basically, that I did with a buddy of mine back in 1990. So we're going back, what, 30 years? Is that 30 years now? Yeah, 30 years.
So I was in like the 20th century.
In the 20th century.
What?
In the late
20th?
Late
Yeah.
20th century.
The late 20th century.
Yeah, I took a trip.
Prior to the internet and bank cards, if I remember.
Prior to the internet and definitely prior to bank cards, because I remember carrying the good old American Express.
Yeah.
Can we say that?
But
traveler's checks.
But you probably had your CAA triptych with you.
That I don't recall.
Do you even know what that is?
No, I have no clue.
I've already broke my rule. I'm totally hijacking your story, but really quickly, come on. Those of you born in the 20th century that traveled a bit prior to the internet, even in high school, when me and the boys, me and Tiny and Rose and Kirk, who are all friggin' better be listening to this podcast, by the way, when we did our annual sojourn to Florida for spring break. Oh, I'm totally hijacking your story.
Okay.
I've just found 5 trips that we could talk about. Anyways, what we would do before the internet, right? And before, well, the internet might have been around, but not in Almont, that's for sure.
No.
A bit of Lanark spillover there, Lanark County. I would borrow Mom's Cougar.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, no opportunity for a bad joke there.
No, I let that one.
I'd head into the. I know you did. I'd head into the big city, go to CAA, ask them for a triptych to Daytona Beach. They'd always look at me like I was joking because I was like 16, could barely see above the counter, and they'd say, yeah, come back in 3 days or whatever. I'd come back, this beautiful spiral bound book with maps and descriptions of like everything between Ottawa and Daytona Beach for free. Like for free. Well, not for free. My parents would pay whatever a year.
Yeah.
And I swear it spurned my love of geography. Like you'd flip through this thing and my God, we would discover so much along the way with the triptych. Anyways, triptych. Come on, DDT.
Well,
you should have known what a triptych was.
Well, I never had one from CAA, but we did have the, what do you call it? They used to call it the Bible. It was like the backpacking type of... Yeah. Like this book.
I had those for those. Anyways, back to your story. Sorry to interrupt.
So yeah, my buddy and I, back in 1990, in the late 20th century, we backpacked throughout Europe, and one of the places that we wanted to go to, which we eventually did go to, was Turkey. So we ended up in southern Turkey at a place called Marmaris, which is on the Mediterranean. And it's a really small little city there, town maybe. But I guess it's a fishing village as well. But, you know, there's nothing really there in Marmaris. Our end destination was obviously Istanbul. But Marmaris was interesting because, and this is the same, I guess, maybe at that time throughout Turkey, was that they had these shops, right? And you could go in. And the best part about these shops was that you were able to bargain with the owners. So right. leather coats and rugs were the biggest things back then. You could get a beautiful leather coat for very cheap prices compared to Canada here. But the main thing was not even that you could get it for cheap, but was the haggling, the bargaining that you did to get it for cheap. That was the fun part of the whole thing. So I remember my buddy, there in Marmaris, he ended up bargaining with the one guy, and I think he left the guy's shop about 4 or 5 times before the guy accepted his offer, I guess. You know, and the funny thing about it was too, they had a really unique bargaining or way, I guess, to get you into their shop in the first place. And what are you clicking on?
Oh, sorry, dude. I just had another spoiler alert to my Duff's pick. It's going to be Goliath. I'll talk about it later. But the clicking is a big part of the guy in the show. I'm clicking on my beats to lower the volume because the more excited you get about this story, the louder you seem to get.
Oh, okay. I'm hearing this clicking.
Please continue.
What's going on?
And I don't think you have to edit any of that out because that is totally typical of our conversations.
That's it, exactly. So anyway, the bargaining style, which we found out was like prevalent in Marmaris and in Istanbul was that they had this thing where they would call you, try to get you into the shop, and they would say, "You are my uncle. I am your cousin. You are my aunt." You know, stuff like that to try to get you into the shop to bargain. Cool. So it was kind of funny, just that. And then, like I said, you could go in there and bargain. I think I ended up with a leather coat as well.
So what are we talking about in Canadian funds? What did it cost you?
Probably like $150.
Okay, I was picturing like $7 or $8.
Oh no! But you were talking like a leather coat that would end up costing here between $5,000 and $1,000.
Okay.
$1,000. Yeah. So you're getting a pretty big discount as it is. But yeah, like it's just the fun of like walking in and out. And then
well, what I would love over there too, I've never been to Turkey. I've thought about it.
Beautiful place. People were so friendly.
Picturing some of those like big markets with food everywhere.
Yes. Yeah.
Like
they have
nice smells and food of ridiculous variety and amounts everywhere. Yeah. Yes. And I bet you it was cheap too, eh?
Oh yeah, for sure. But that's in Istanbul. Street food. Yeah. Istanbul has the Grand Bazaar.
Yes, something like that would be cool.
Yeah, it was very cool. But the trip from Marmaris to Istanbul was 14 hours on a bus overnight in the sweltering heat with this big Turkish guy snoring away in front of us. That was just awful. That was awful. But we did stop for a lot of good food along the way. And then even when I was in Istanbul, I went into a restaurant. I had no idea what I was ordering. They didn't speak any English either, but they just brought out whatever I pointed to. So it ended up being pretty good. But Istanbul, quite the city. If you ever get a chance to go there, I strongly suggest. Now, the one thing that we're looking forward to throughout the whole trip, when we did go to Turkey, was the Turkish bathhouses. These were world famous bathhouses and so my buddy was all big on that, and he was.
You were probably just hoping to reconnect with that guy on the bus.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, he was. In fact,
did he strike you as a bathhouse kind of guy?
Yeah, he was probably one of the guys giving the massages in the bathhouse. I would say, because we were looking for a place. My buddy's like, okay, I'm gonna go check this place out. And it turns out that every bathhouse is not quite what you think. You were thinking, if you're thinking that you're gonna see some beautiful women and giving you massage, you're gonna get the big fat guy on the bus snoring away in there to give you a massage, and that was it. So when he was in there checking him out, I was waiting, and he came back out, and he had this look on his face like, don't
go.
Yeah. So we never ended up going to their world famous bathhouses for that very reason. Awesome. So unfortunately, but that's one experience we didn't. But yeah, like if you ever get to Turkey, I mean, I don't know what's gonna go on there now, but it was a beautiful place and a trip that obviously have memories forever. So yeah, a lot of fun.
DDT, I'm glad you shared that, because I definitely love traveling, and I hope my sense of adventure for exotic travel like that, if I can call that exotic, returns a bit, because I think the world's getting a little stupider these days in general. And I'm falling in love with a lot of closer places, to be honest. Like the trip to the Southwest USA 2 years ago, it opened up I had been there before a couple times, but it made me realize just how much there is to see on this continent alone, which is probably a little less risky than a place like Turkey. I don't know. I mean, it's crazy, and I hope we can all get out and travel, obviously, very soon.
Well, I think
wherever the heck we want.
Yeah, exactly. I think Turkey has changed a lot over the years since I was there in the late 20th century. It has changed. I guess the president there now is a bit of a dictator, I think, or leaning that way anyway. So it wasn't like that back then. They wanted to very much become part of the EU or of Europe
and NATO and all that.
So, but
that's a funny thing, though, eh? And then they do, and then they kind of very slowly but surely slip and revert back to those old ways. And like Turkey right now is probably the weakest link in a lot of these formal arrangements. I mean, I could take it or leave it, like whatever. Yeah. Anywho, I feel like it's time for Duff's pick, even though I've given it away already. How How cop car coffee-ish is that?
Well, if you weren't clicking away on your headphones, then I could finish my story.
Yeah. Cop car coffee segment of Duff's Picks this week is we're sticking with the movie streaming theme, and 100% it's my latest online addiction, and that is Goliath on Amazon Prime. If you are a fan of the lawyer type of movie, and or one of my other favorite actors, Billy Bob Thornton, you're gonna love it. And another bizarre character in this as an actor is Dwight Yoakam, if you can believe it. Do you know who Dwight Yoakam is?
I do.
Yeah. He's a mediocre country singer, and I can say that as a country aficionado. He's a bit of a nut. Anyways, he's in, and I didn't even know he was a freaking actor. I'm like, is that Dwight Yoakam? And my wife's like, yeah, of course. I'm like, wow. Anyways, he's in it. My opinion probably went up a fraction of a percent. Like he did okay, but Billy Bob Thornton was fantastic. And it being titled Goliath gives you a bit of a flavor for what you're dealing with. He's a down and out lawyer who was once at a really big firm, and a case stumbles across his desk. He gets convinced to pursue it, and it turns out to be a very typical David versus Goliath sort of thing, and he's the David. Okay. And it involves conspiracy, it involves huge corporate war machine company sort of thing. And now it was one of those series I stumbled across. We watched the first episode. We immediately watched 2 after that, and then I think we saw the whole first season over 2 or 3 days. So since we last did our CCC, I watched the whole first season, and it to me it's dark at times. The clicker guy. I'm surprised you hear this. Hear this?
Yeah, I can hear it.
There's a character in it that does that, and it's always in a dark room, and it's almost irritating. Like, you emotionally get into this show because it's really cool, or at least I did. And when it goes to that scene, it's like, oh, I want this. Like, get through this scene because I hate this guy and I can't see anything. But all you hear is. Yeah, you're laughing now, but it's pretty irritating when you're actually listening to the show. Anyhow, irritating is good. If you love Billy Bob Thornton and the lawyer flicks, you'll love it if you love those two things or just one of them. So that is Duff's pick for week 16 on Cop Car Coffee. That is Goliath with Billy Bob on Amazon Prime.
Perfect. Well, I might have to check it out then, because I do like those things, and I do like Billy Bob Thornton, so I'm gonna have to check that one out. I think
you'll love it.
Yeah, I'm not sure about Dwight Yoakam, but okay.
Well, I was just gonna say, and if your lady's gonna watch it along with you, she'll be happy that one of my favorite actors, Matthew McConaughey, is not.
No. Okay, there you go.
That was Duff's shocker of the week, that your wife is not a fan of Matthew McConaughey.
No, she is not. So
why?
She thinks that he's not good looking. She just doesn't like him.
Well, good looking, is it the first thing that comes to her mind when evaluating anyone, is just how good looking they are?
Well,
how did she end up with you?
Well, true enough. Fair enough. I concede that point for sure. But no, she's just not a big fan of. I mean, that was the first thing, of course, but then she just finds him annoying.
Yeah. That's too funny.
I do like his Lincoln commercials, though.
Oh, he's great. I have. Well, I'm no expert in his looks, that's for sure. I hear many people think he's great looking. He's okay, I guess. But the Texas drawl, the calm, cool collectedness. He has played in a few lawyer flicks as well. I think some of the Grisham series, which I really love as well. So yeah, I enjoy watching him as an actor. But and way back in like Dazed and Confused. Come on. That's a classic with McConaughey, eh?
True.
Yeah.
That is true.
Anywho, we got a bit off track there, but love Matthew McConaughey. Or is it McConaughey? McConaughey?
I don't know. That's a good question. Let's put that out to the listener, and
Yeah.
to give him this. Is it McConaughey or is it McConaughey? Tell us what you think it is.
Yeah.
Good listener on Twitter.
I think my good buddy, my brother-in-law out in Halifax, I don't know why he would say this, but he'd say, if it's good enough for Matthew McConaughey, it's good enough for me.
Or does he say, is it good if it's good enough for Matthew McConaughey?
Matthew McConaughey.
Hey.
Yeah.
Is it good enough for me?
I can't remember.
Yeah.
I think he says Matthew McConaughey. Anywho.
All right.
Yeah,
well,
so I'm good. I was again a good week. I think we covered a lot of our regular segments. Anything left there, DDT, or are we going to wrap it up for week 16?
I don't think so. I'm good. I've got to go get my coffee. I've been sitting here the whole time, dying of a coffee thirst.
At 10:30, my head would be a pounding.
Yeah, it's starting to pound now. So you didn't bring you didn't bring me one. So and we're not able to do this together until.
Oh man!
Well,
how many more weeks of this nonsense
I don't
so we
even
can
know.
get back in person with CCC?
I don't even know.
You don't know. I think mid-May, hopefully. Hey, you know what we missed out on this week?
What's that? Oh yeah,
the big boys spa weekend in Prince Edward County.
That's right. Yeah.
I know you were very disappointed.
I was. Well, I think it was. Well, there was a couple things going on, but none the least of which that you were requiring BJ and I to get testing before we went.
Oh yeah.
Camping with you.
Is that a bad thing?
Well, I mean,
to not want COVID. Well, to be able to relax and have fun.
Sure, but I was saying that
you're not with someone who's like going to give me the virus.
Yeah, sure, but you would have had to get tested too.
Well, I'm not worried about getting it from myself. That doesn't make any sense.
No, but you give it to us.
I would either have it or I wouldn't.
No, but you would give it to us.
Yeah, but I'm not worried about that. The point is, I'm worried about me, and I don't want to get it from you. So why would you guys make me get tested if you don't care? That's my point. You act like you don't care about it, so why would you force me to get... Okay, I'll stop. I'm hammering you on that one.
I don't know what's going on.
I was just excited. I was just excited to see you and BJ getting your manicures and your pedicures and your manscaping.
For when I wore the Speedo on.
Which I was not... Yeah,
I was gonna say it's a good thing we didn't go because we've gone back into fall weather.
Yeah, no kidding.
It's cold.
Yeah, so the plan was a few days at Sandbanks Provincial Park. Actually, it was one of the only ones open this early.
Yeah,
and it was supposed to be a lot of fun, but once again, thank you at Ontario PC Caucus and Doug Ford for ruining that because just like those other super dangerous COVID activities like tennis, golf,
yeah,
and having a campfire with 2 other people
outside
8 meters away. Outside, you don't want to. We can't. You know what? We just can't take those chances.
No.
It's not like having 17 people inside some illegally operating casino in the middle of Peel region. But hey, who am I to judge?
Exactly.
Yeah, I think we should be thankful and leave it at that.
Okay.
And as I drive by a disc golf course later today, I'm sure that won't bother me at all. That he's helping us stay safe by not letting us go play some disc golf.
There you go.
Anywho, we digress. Let's save the negativity for another week, if ever. And we'll sign off, folks. Thanks so much for listening. That's another injurious waste of, I'm guessing, 45 minutes of your time today.
Good guess.
On Cop, Car, Coffee. Yeah, was I close?
You bang on.
Wow.